Resident Evil 4 was a major reinvention of Capcom's celebrated horror franchise, not just in terms of gameplay, but the general tone and style as well. As such, from a narrative perspective, the game was radically different from anything else the series had done in the past, and really would go on to do in the future as well. As different as it was though, it was also a crucial point in the series' larger narrative, serving as an important chapter in the stories of several key characters. Here, we're going to take a look back at the full story of the legendary horror shooter. Before we begin, please consider subscribing and enable all notifications by clicking the bell icon. With that out of the way, let's get started. Resident Evil takes place in 2004, 6 years after the destruction of Raccoon City. By the time the game begins, the shady and corrupt activities of Umbrella Corporation have become public, and the company has been made to pay for its crimes in more ways than one. Several high-level officials have been prosecuted, the company itself has been banned from any further activities, leading to bankruptcy, while the co-founder Oswald Spencer has gone into hiding, now a wanted man across the globe. Things have changed drastically for others as well. Not long after the destruction of Raccoon City, Leon S. Kennedy, one of the few survivors of the incident, was recruited by the United States government, and after several years of training is now a high-level Secret Service agent. As Resident Evil 4 kicks off, the US President's daughter, Ashley Graham, has been reported missing, abducted by a mysterious cult known as the Los Illuminados, led by a man named Osmond Saddler. After receiving intel that Ashley was spotted in a remote village in Spain, the Secret Service dispatches Leon to the location, tasking him with rescuing her and bringing her back. Upon arriving at the scene, however, it doesn't take long for Leon to realize that things here are horribly amiss. The villagers, once peaceful farmers, have turned into mindless, violent freaks and begin attacking Leon in numbers as soon as he arrives. And what's responsible for this, as most bad things that happen in the Resident Evil universe, is a virus. Known as Las Plagas, this is a parasite that is being used by Los Illuminados leader Osmond Saddler to create bioweapons, and the scores of people that join his cult have all been infected with it, making them susceptible to mind control and turning them into obedient puppets. Those who have been infected are called the ganado, which is Spanish for livestock, and have been instructed by Saddler to kill any trespassers in order to maintain secrecy so that he and the researchers under him can carry out their bioterrorism activities undisturbed. Soon after his arrival in the village, Leon is taken captive by the village's chief, Vitores Mendez, and infected with one of the plagas. He finds himself in captivity with one Luis Serra, who used to be a researcher for the Los Illuminados and was involved with the research of the Las Plagas and the creation of many bioweapons, but eventually became disillusioned with Saddler. Wanting to get out from under Saddler's heels, Serra came into contact with a certain group, agreeing to bring them a sample of the dominant species Plagas. Leon's story in RE4 is an eventful one, but before we proceed, in order to understand it, we need to go over a bit of backstory. For starters, what is the dominant species Plagas? Well, unlike the regular variants of the parasite, the dominant species Plagas allows the host to retain their consciousness, and though it can often trigger heavy physical mutations, it does immunize the host from being mind-controlled. So who exactly did Luis agree to steal a sample of the dominant species Plagas for? The answer to that question is the answer to many of Resident Evil's most nefarious questions, Albert Wesker. Well, at least indirectly. The person Luis came into contact with when he chose to escape from Los Illuminados was none other than Ada Wong, an agent of the group that was Umbrella's biggest rival, known simply as the Organization. Once the Organization came to know about the Las Plagas, Albert Wesker, one of their highest-ranking members, dispatched another agent loyal to him to the village in Spain. That person was Jack Krauser, an American soldier who was once in training with Leon S. Kennedy. Upon being injured and discharged from duty, however, Krauser sought out Wesker, whom he had heard about from Leon, wanting not only a new purpose in life, but to become stronger through bioweapons much like Wesker had himself. Krauser faked his own death and became a member of the Organization, loyal first and foremost to Wesker. Back to the present though. With the help of Luis Serra, Leon, who is yet unaware of Luis's past, is able to escape from captivity. The two go their separate ways, with Leon setting off once again to find and rescue Ashley Graham. He eventually finds her and soon discovers just why she was kidnapped in the first place. Just like Leon, Ashley too has been infected with the Plagas, with Saddler intending for her to be sent back to the president while she is under his control, and then to infect her father in turn, allowing Saddler to exert control over him as well. Having finally found Ashley, Leon decides that it's time to get the hell out of the village and back home. But as the two are making their way to a US government chopper for evacuation, the chopper is shot down, forcing them to seek shelter while another one arrives. They decide to head to a nearby castle, with Leon having to fight and kill Bitores Mendez on the way. Even when they get to the castle though, things only go from bad to worse. That's because the castle is owned by a man named Ramon Salazar, who, alongside the now dead Mendez, is one of Sadler's chief lieutenants. Ashley is taken captive once again, leaving Leon to once more fight his way through the castle as he looks for her. And as he's doing that, he runs into a figure from his past that he remembers all too well, Ada Wong, another one of Raccoon City's survivors who's still up to her shady double-crossing antics. But what exactly is Ada doing here of all places? Well, let's rewind a bit once more. The agent of the organization originally infiltrated the Los Illuminados in order to recover a sample of the dominant species Plagas was Jack Krauser. Krauser, however, failed to return in time, which meant the next person they and Wesker turned to was Ada Wong. Wesker instructed her to bring the sample back to him, but as a man who isn't satisfied with life until he's played the role of at least a double agent, he had his own interests at heart first and foremost. Far from being loyal to the organization, Wesker had begun dealing with an African corporation known as Tricell, by this time one of the key players in the story of Resident Evil 5. Having already provided them with a sample of the G virus and the T Veronica virus that he had acquired in the past, he intended to follow up with the Las Plagas as well, looking to build his own criminal empire to further his goals. The organization knew that Wesker was not to be trusted, so they instructed Ada to deceive him and deliver a recessive species Plaga sample to him, while bringing back the dominant species Plagas for the organization itself. It is for this purpose that Ada is here as well, and actually had almost crossed paths with Leon on multiple occasions. On a few occasions, her actions, unbeknownst to Leon, had even helped him out of tight spots, which is something that continues to happen throughout the remainder of Resident Evil 4. Now that the two are finally face to face, Leon demands answers, asking her about what she's doing here and about her ties to Wesker. Those answers, as you might guess, are not forthcoming, and the two part ways once more, with Leon continuing his search for Ashley and Ada going off on her own mission. Soon afterward, Ada receives orders from Wesker to eliminate Leon should their paths cross again, at which point she decides it would be best for Leon and herself if she avoided running into him again. As much as she likes to double-cross him, she does have a soft spot for Leon after all. Leon eventually manages to find Ashley once again, just as Luis Serra too arrives on the scene with a sample of the dominant species Plagas that he fully intends to give to Leon to take back to the US government. Serra is killed by Sadler though, who takes the sample back, grabs hold of Ashley once again, and flees from the castle, heading to a nearby island where Los Illuminados have set up a military and research base. Leon makes his way through the castle once more, fighting and killing the aforementioned Ramon Salazar in the process, before finally arriving at the heavily defended military and research island. And it's here that he squares off against Jack Krauser. The two men, who were once friends, engage each other in a duel, with Krauser under orders from Wesker to kill Leon. The fight is a long and arduous one, and even though Krauser has, at this point, been implanted with a dominant species Plagas gene, he's unable to beat Leon. Ada gets in on the action as well at one point, shooting Krauser from a distance. Leon is ultimately able to best Krauser, seemingly killing him. The killing blow on him, however, lands when Ada chances upon him later on. Wanting revenge for her shooting at him while he was engaged in a knife fight with Leon, Krauser turns on Ada, but the latter defeats him as well, finally killing him. Once again, after finding and rescuing Ashley once more, Leon manages to find a specialized device thanks to research notes left behind by Luis, which he uses to purge the Plagas virus from inside of himself and Ashley. The pair then heads for the second rescue chopper that's arrived to pick him and Ashley up, but this chopper too is shot down and destroyed. Soon afterward, Leon comes face to face with Sadler himself, who, thanks to the dominant species Plagas virus inside of him, has grown to massive proportions and mutated beyond recognition. With the help of Ada, who, in typical fashion, tosses Leon a rocket launcher just when things are looking like they're getting a bit too out of hand, Leon takes Sadler on and manages to kill him, following which Leon retrieves a sample of the dominant species Plagas from his corpse. But Ada, being Ada, is dedicated to her mission. Holding Leon at gunpoint, she takes the sample from him and climbs aboard an evac chopper sent by the organization, flying off the island, while detonation charges set by the group all around the island begin counting down. Before leaving, however, she leaves behind the keys of a jet ski for Leon to use and escape with Ashley. As all of them escape one way or the other, the Los Illuminados facility explodes and caves in behind them. Leon returns to the US with Ashley and delivers his reports on the incident, helping the Bioterrorism Security Assessment Alliance, or the BSAA, shore up their defenses for future encounters with the Las Plagas or similar bioweapons. Ada meanwhile does exactly what she was instructed to by the organization. Deceiving Wesker, she hands him a sample of the recessive species Plagas while taking the dominant sample to her employers. But Albert Wesker is Albert Wesker for a reason. He is always one step ahead of anyone who thinks to cross him. Fully expecting to be betrayed by Ada and by the organization, Wesker eventually retrieves a sample of the dominant species Plagas from the corpse of Jack Krauser anyway, thus coming one step closer to the realization of his master plan and leading directly into the events of Resident Evil 5. So, what are your thoughts on this? Go ahead and share them in the comments below. And if you like this video, please subscribe to the channel and enable all notifications by clicking the bell icon to get new video updates. We upload every day and we would really appreciate your support. Thanks for watching.